Okay, welcome. Today is day 64, part 2 of these little videos to describe a day or thought in the life of schizophrenic Dominic. And day 17 and day 45 of these videos are posted on my threads a pinned post and posted on my Facebook on a pinned post in the comment section. And so, uh, yeah, and you can look at those videos and see what I talk about as far as like schizophrenia being what I describe myself as rather than targeted individual. And in Day 45 shows that in the intro section, it describes why I make these videos. And okay, I'm going to go ahead and start here. So I made a video here earlier tonight and it got deleted in the middle while I was making it. And I think it was NSA or somebody coming in and cutting me off because I was saying stuff like I was talking about, I was at the point in the video where I was talking about that I would like to get EU citizenship for the purposes of potentially moving to Ireland or just having the option because I don't know what's going to happen here in America. And I was saying that I was saying in other previous writings that I discussed that America is I love America, but it's a weird thing to love because it's an abusive place. And so you don't really love an abuser, but then I guess you do. And so, yeah, that's what I was saying. And that's when I got cut off. I don't want to do da 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 da, but I'm a little bit flustered. Okay. So, just repeating what I was talking about. And yeah, so I would like to get EU citizenship, potentially Italian citizenship. I'd like to visit Italy, and uh, if I get EU, maybe I can move to Ireland or have that option in the future. I love California, but with the fires and stuff like that, you never know what can go transpire here. It's getting a little weird in California, but with Trump and I don't know what's it's little bit crazy. And in the intro in the previous video that got cut off, I was discussing David A. Hughes and his notion that COVID-19 was a psychological operation in war for technocracy, and that it was the beginning of World War III. And he discusses how many people died in that, and I don't particularly know if that many people died. I know that COVID was a real virus. I got the virus, but I know that they can fudge numbers. And I told you in a previous video that I experienced people messing around with the numbers with regards to the weight on the scale here in the house. And during COVID, I lost 35 pounds. And I said that I had done my part and I gained it all back. But yeah, so that's that on the COVID front. I don't know if it was World War III, but I'm reading that in my book by David A. Hughes that it was the beginning of World War III. And so I was thinking with World War III, I would like to leave the country, but who knows what's going to take place outside the country. But I would like that option. Okay, so but I do love California and I do love America, even though it's abusive. Okay, so when I was reading in my Matthew McConaughey book that uh, the Dooleys family that he lived with was kind of a weird little family and whatever. And I was remembering back when I was a kid, we actually had some kids in our school named the Dooleys, and they were these cool little Australian kids. I didn't know them very well, but everyone loved them, and the girls all loved them, and uh, they're these two little blonde twins, and I don't remember. I think they might have been older than me, or were they younger than me? I can't remember. I think they might have been older than me, but they. And I think it's funny that Dooleys is the name of the kids in Matthew McConaughey's book. And when you're schizophrenic, nothing is coincidence. So you see that, and you're just like, I don't know what the statement here about Dooleys is. I think it's just a funny story about Dooleys. But okay, maybe something about Dooleys or something. I don't know, some sort of anagram or whatever. All right, in my Hakeem Olajuwon book, it discusses that he built a WWIII Islamic Center in Houston, where he would go and study. And it's discussing in the book how Hakeem Olajuwon, when he first came into the NBA, he was not really Islamic anymore, and he was getting into fights and all this, and he was kind of a troubled guy, and that he was a little bit wild. And when he met up, he started linking up with this guy who was like a father figure to him, and this guy turned him on back onto Islam, and he got grounded and became an MVP in the league and all that. And I'm not saying it was because of the religion, but maybe he was just more structured and he changed his behaviors due to that. So I'm not espousing religion, but I'm just reading about it. And Hakeem Olajuwon, the reason why I'm reading this book is because I'm drawn to him because I think he's the greatest center of all time. And in the book, it's discussing how he kind of gets forgotten a lot. And I think he's a top 10 player all time. I think Shaq even says he's better than Shaq. And even though I would say this, that when Shaq lost to Olajuwon, Shaq was only in his like second or third year in the league. I think Shaq was in his third year in the league or whatever. And Olajuwon was kind of more towards the seasoned veteran prime in the league. And so yeah, and the Rockets were a great team, even though they don't get a lot of credit. They had Ori, they had Tenny Smith, they had Vernon Maxwell. I think they had Clyde Drexler at one point, and yeah, they had Clyde Drexler, obviously. So they were a great team, and so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the duopoly and how the duopoly. It seems like the duopoly is allowing the Republicans to do the dirty work of austerity here. And I feel like a little bit like a sucker participating in this. And, uh, you know, but it just feels like a little bit like the duopoly is doing the dirty work. The Republicans are doing the dirty work of the, the of austerity for the duopoly, and the Democrats stopped trying to win elections because they want to egg us into some sort of acceleration path. But I guess if I'm choosing, like I said in a previous video, if I'm choosing what to do with myself here, okay, fine. I guess if you're going to throw Trump and fascism at me, then I'm going to choose boycott. And tomorrow's the February 28th boycott. You can shop at uh, you can shop at uh, small businesses, and I don't know what Trader Joe's counts as that, but I don't really shop anywhere, so it's not really I'm not really the best thing to do for a boycott because I rarely ever shop, and I guess I shop sometimes, but I try to pick businesses that are more or less positive influences on society, though sometimes they're culty corporations. So okay, so tomorrow's the boycott. We're participating in that boycott here. I was originally in the beginning of the video, and they cut the video off, and they blocked me from saying anything. So now it's at the end of the video, and so it's when I'm talking about the duopoly, and yeah, so I feel like a little bit of a sucker here for following Democrats' lead on these things when I feel like they're just trying to get more money for their campaigns. But I do prefer Democrats over Republicans, but it's just like I feel like they didn't even try to win the last elections, and I don't. They Bernie was very popular in 2016, and the party squashed his movement. That could have been a very popular movement in the country, and they probably did it because they had this austerity plan with the Republicans, and the Republicans are going to play the bad guys here and do the bad guy dirty work for austerity, and then Democrats will come in and clean up, and what will take place after that, I don't know. Or that's an accelerationist, and we're seeing the throes of a total sea change in world affairs, and so Noah Yuval Harari, I was reading in his book that he was saying that like sometimes you just take for granted that things are the way they are and that they can't change. And maybe we're gonna see something drastic here. I don't know. I'm not a prognosticator. If it does change, I hope it changes for the better. I don't know that we can continue down this path without it ending up in some sort of weird fascist hellscape. So things are pretty good, for myself, but I don't think it's good for everybody. And uh, the society, it's the structure of society is not good right now, and it's only going to get worse if you cut funding for poor people. And it's like they're egging on a fight, and it's like maybe they want a civil war. I'm not sure, but it just seems like the dirty work for austerity is happening, and it seems like accelerationists on both sides are playing the game with the centrists, and it's a big musical chairs going on for being power, and everyone's letting this doofus Trump hold the key to power right now. And the guy, I think Trump doesn't even realize how he's kind of a doofus. He thinks he's like the shit or something, but people want him in power so he can take the fall for what's going on. All right, I'm going to talk a little bit about Trump's video in Gaza and my thoughts on it. And I don't even want to give it too much attention because I feel like it's beneficial to Trump to give it attention because he's playing a psychological game where he's using himself. He's putting his ego out there. His ego is represented in the golden statue of taking over Gaza, and he's juxtaposing this Gaza statue with the destruction of Gaza and death and destruction of Palestinians. And so he's saying he's subliminally making you say like he's better. It's like he's good because what's bad? Bad is death and destruction. Good is building golden statues. And it's just like he's putting his image next to one and the other one is people attributed to the Democrats. The Democrats sold the weapons to Israel, and so he's baiting the Democrats into talking about this because the Democrats don't have, I mean, strategy wise, Democrats don't have a leg to stand on because they've been supporting Israel's actions in Gaza since the October 7th atrocities, and it's a mess. And people say, man, the Middle East is a mess, and this crazy guy wants to build golden statues. I think golden statues are the people. This is in people's minds what they do. They think golden statues are better than death and destruction, and so they think like, ah ha ha ha, that crazy guy, he's so funny. And I think Trump knows he's playing this game where he's putting his ego out there, and he's using the ego juxtaposed against death and destruction. And so you're saying that's better than death and destruction. Trump is good, therefore Trump is good, or whatever. Okay, so he's playing a game, and That's what that video is all about. All right, thank you for listening. And I wanted to support the boycott tomorrow. And okay, thank you. Goodbye.